Hi, Charlene back with my guests. We're going to look at some predictions, but first I want to remind you to please subscribe. Had I had enough people to subscribe, I'd be doing this live. As it is, it's live taped. It's what I can do, it's good. Anyway, it's getting warm in here. We've been taking nice little breaks between these little films and discussing the year and lots of magic and lots of fun things. So in the audience today, I have a couple of roosters, I have a couple of monkeys, I have a dog. So often what I'll do is I'll speak to the animals in the room, and in my presentations in the past, when they're a big presentation, I like to do what I call ceremony and celebrations. And just to go back through the years, one year I was able to get to Bali, and I did a presentation in Nelson, I did a presentation in Victoria, and then I did a presentation in Bali. So what we did was write down what we wanted to let go from the year before, and I was going to take them to a special place in Nelson, the very first one, and do a little fire. And I went, no, I'm going to take those with me to Victoria. So all the people that came, there was about 20 people at the first presentation, probably about 12 or 15 at the second. And in Bali, there was about 10 of us. So I took all the intentions in paper and I took them all the way to Bali, and then we had a puja, a ceremony. Outside there was a beautiful statue of Lakshmi, and we did this beautiful ceremony in this place of this artist, Karja. And we learned that I like his artwork because it was really elemental. And when I did my presentation, he came up to me and he was like, wow, the interlapping of energies and information. And I'm like, yeah, so if you look at my previous video to this, it's the origins of Feng Shui, and it talks about the Valley of the Dakini in India. So the Balinese are Hindu, all those islands in Indonesia, Bali is Hindu, and Hindu Buddhist influences. Obviously, it's the biggest Muslim country in the world, so it's a very powerful island. So we did this ceremony, and the reason I'm telling you this is that, gosh, I think it was like 2 years later, I finally made it to India. Now, I've been trying to get to India since I was 30 years old, and finally about 6-7 years ago, I made it to India. And I spent 6 weeks in the south doing panchakarma, a very cleansing thing. And then I went 56-hour train ride all the way to New Delhi, and then another 6 hours to get to the drop-off point to get myself to Rishikesh. So when I get there, it's of course it's in the Himalaya, in the southern part. It's just at the foothills, and I wanted to explore. So I get up in the morning, I put on my down jacket, and I'm going across the bridge, and I see this woman, bald-headed, walking across the bridge. It's very early, there's nobody around, and I just smile at her. She's beaming, she's obviously a North American, bald head, and she's trucking with a backpack. And then as I passed her, a few moments later, I heard, Nelson, Feng Shui. I'm like, oh my goodness. So she came up to me and we started talking, and I realized that in the Nelson presentation 2 years prior, she had long hair, no wonder I didn't recognize her. She actually wrote down on her little intention sheet that she wanted to get back to Dehradun, that's where the train stops, to meet and study with these teachers she had met years before. And she wanted to go back there to study yoga with these older practitioners of this Iyengar yoga, like they were the real thing. You know, when you know a master, you know a master. And that was her intention 2 years prior, that we burned in the puja in Bali. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, she lives in Nelson, she's a practitioner here, but it just goes to show the magic of intention setting and how we do it. So I just love my work. What can I say? It really does pay back, and it was lovely to meet her. And in fact, she was going to her second session. She had a backpack on. She was going that day back to see the same people. She had spent a month with them. She was going back for another month. So I was just like, wow. It's what happens when you set intentions. And instead of, burning those in Nelson, I packed them in my backpack. I took them all the way to Victoria, and then I took them all the way to Bali. So now we're going to just a brief overlay on the animal years. So what I'm going to say about the animals this year is that every one of us has the potential for going deep into our interpersonal relationships. It's really up for all of us. There's not many animals that are going to have a like, wow, this is like such a great year. We're all challenged because going into those shadow places, not the easiest thing for most of us to do. So I usually start with the animal of the year, but the astrological chart, the zodiac, starts with the rat, and it goes from rat to ox, ox to tiger, tiger to rabbit. So we're actually in the rabbit year, but I'm going to start with the rat because 3 years ago, 2020, I think we had the metal rabbit year. And we've had challenging years because when we had metal as a ruling element, it has this aspect of control. But the other beautiful thing that I'm talking about when I get into what your specific animal is that for everybody, I'm saying, if you're a metal animal, you have to go from allowing the control, the hardness, into the melting that is like water. Go into the alchemic part. Go into the letting things flow. So I'm just noticing my water rabbit talisman on the tree outside, just kind of going back and forth, which I just had to point out. So this year, the rats, not an easy year for rats, but it can be prosperous. The thing about rats is that they have more reserved nature. They're a lot like the rabbits, and they hold their cards close to their chests. And they're very, they're prolific, but they're also like scurrying about and taking time to make decisions. So this year it's going to be super important for them. And I'm just going to look at some of the things I wrote here. Stay concentrated on what's important to you, and career bumps will smooth out. So that's kind of an overall thing for all the animals this year, is that if you stick with it, if you're persistent, your intentions are strong, things will mellow out. Know that for every animal this year. I think the animals that have the best, oxen, do great this year, as do the pig. Now, interestingly enough, oxen is on one side of the rat, and it's water, and the pig is on the other side of the rat in the northwest. So it's interesting how the water element, not the rat, but both the pig and the oxen, are going to have like more powerful years than most other animals this year, because it's the water rabbit. And if you're a water rabbit, you're 60 years old this year. So it's fueled by the wood energy of the east and the wood energy. So you do have a real powerful year. But I'm going to just talk about rats some more before I get to the rabbit. He's a couple of animals away. Personal relationships will be really important to maintain, whether it has to do with colleagues or the people close to you. You tend to have a reserved nature, and you tend to avoid confrontation. So you're going to have to work to like get your point across. Be clear, be concise about what you need in order to get back, because if you avoid that, like rabbits like to do, it'll bite you in the bum. Okay, just so you know that. For everybody, health and well-being super important this year, including the rat. So now let's move. So rats are born in 1936, 48, 60, 1972, 1984, 1996, 2008, and the year 2020. Those are rat years, and they're all different elements. Oxen, they're born in 1937, 49, 61, 1973, 1985, 97, 2009, and 2021. Now, yes, ox have great luck this year if you work hard and seize opportunities when they present. So this is why intention setting is so important for all the animals this year, is because if you're really clear about what your intentions are, and the opportunities will show up, especially for the ox born this year. Although you're typically good with finances, it's wise to keep an eye on them in 2023. You may have to spend a bit more to make more this year. And I'm not saying that to any other animal. This is the year where you can invest. Be wise, do your due diligence, make sure you know what you're investing in. Get together your consortium, get together your colleagues, know what you're doing, and you will invest money, but it will come back to you. This is a really good year for that. You have to stay healthy and keep balanced. Any slight health issues should be dealt with immediately. Most important is to control outbursts and your temper. because health is a mental game. So you have to be careful about your reactions this year, because when you feel the energy of a good year, and when you feel the energy of a good year, you just tend to go for it. So that can rock the boat, but it can create stress that you don't need. It can create health problems as well. The year is going to be more powerful, more energetic at the beginning of the year. So when the summer comes, it's going to be really good for Oxen to kind of take it easy, step back a bit, and look at what's going on. Like really look at what is happening in your world, where you want to change and shift up. Take this opportunity to rest, enjoy as many things. Full speed will come around, fall, things start moving again. Be ready for challenges. Know that you're the animal that can handle them the best this year. Now, I do write keywords for every animal each year. So for the keywords for the oxen, and yes, I'll go back to the rat. The keywords for oxen are observation, determination, and health. Very important for ox. Now, let's go back to the rat. What's important? The keywords for the rat: persistence, soul exploration, and relentless positivity. Because when you have a challenging year, rats tend to go hide, and they don't go out and mingle or be part of community or do what they should do. But as I said earlier, it's really important for you to volunteer this year. So for rats, you really just have to break out and just kind of do your due diligence, be smart. Next animal is the tiger. Well, first thing, you're out of the spotlight this year, so you're going to feel a big sense of relief, because it was a lot of work for you to hold court last year and be the one that was in charge of what was going on. Plus all the energy and the focus is on you, so it makes you a little like, I gotta make these decisions, I gotta pounce, I gotta know what I'm doing, I gotta. This year it's about self-care. It's also about modesty. Tigers have egos, and like I said earlier, they're very altruistic. So they'll give up relationship, they'll give up family, they'll go across the world to save a country for 6 months and not be home with the kids and the wife. So, just know that's your nature. This year, the momentum of last year may kick in, and you may want to just keep going with that, like, I'm the one, I'm the tiger, I'm really powerful. Well, you have to kind of back up, because what will happen is you will start to people will notice that. If you're at all in your ego, they'll notice it and they'll start to back off. It's like, it's not your year. It's like, I'm going to take a moment. Like, maybe I like what they have to offer, but I might revisit it at another time. That's a really important thing for the tiger born this year. Your keywords, tiger, is rejuvenation and modesty and self-care. So, you had a busy year last year. You had a lot of influence. You might be a little tired. So it is about modesty, rejuvenation, self-care, going into those depths, going into why it is you are such an altruistic person, and really working with the relationships around you, really paying attention to friends and colleagues and nurturing that. Super important for the tiger this year. Next one up is our rabbit. Here we go. The little rabbit this year, well, he's in the spotlight. Often for rabbits, that is so not comfortable. Rabbits like to be in the background. They like to be private. They like to be, so when they're in their year, they tend to be a little like the deer in the headlight. It's like the rabbit in the headlight. So this year, the energy of the wood and the water is going to kind of push you right out of that. You're going to notice a different energy this year, that you're going to be empowered to move forward, that you're going to want to be in the spotlight, that you're going to want to do things, and you're going to be supported. So unlike when we're in our years, they're not often the best for us. And this could be either or. Whenever it's our year, it can be either or. It's taking the energy of what your true nature is and putting it to use in the most powerful, beneficial way for yourself, but also the community. It keeps coming up. Rabbits are in the spotlight, and such will be elevated and triggered on all fronts. You'll have to rely heavily on your powers of observation and your acquired skills. And like I said, if you're 60 this year, that wisdom of this age will be so important for you. You'll be able to really use everything from your 60 years to know what to do, how to move forward. You have to keep your ego in check, just like the tiger. colleagues, friends, and family will nourish your inner being. So again, we're going back to community, gatherings, being with people, asking people for help, and taking time for self-examination and personal care. When it's your year, you tend to burn out. That's what can happen. So in this year, just take that, take the moments at the end of the day. Take a week off every couple of months. Take a few days off at the end of a month, and just like rejuvenate. Do things for yourself and your family, because that's going to be key. Don't go on a binge of working. Binges of any kind are really going to take you out this year. The key words: tolerance, self-care, and meditation. It's through meditation that you'll really get to the core of what you're about. And I guess I could add the word transparency, but I say this to rabbits every year. I say, you tend to hold your cards close to your chest. Let people in, be vulnerable. Same this year. Always allow yourself to go a little deeper, be a little more transparent, because your vulnerability pulls in those close to you. We move on to the dragon. Next year will be the year of the dragon, the wood dragon. Dragons had a really crazy time in 2022, and that's because dragon energy, powerful and strong, just like a tiger. Like the dragon and the tiger are kind of in opposition to each other. They're very different and they're very powerful. So the dragon was told to kind of step back and watch. But even in that, you can't help your nature. You can't help but being pulled around and doing things that might just be a little more difficult for you. The rabbit sits right next to you on the zodiac chart and shares a very young wood element with you. As water feeds wood, you will feel the effects of the full-on growth this year. Expansion for dragons is super important. You have to, again, it's going to be a powerful, moving year. The growth energy of your core element is also wood with the water. You're going to feel fueled. You're going to feel unburdened like you were in the year of the tiger. So just be careful to keep things in balance, and know that it's all about your community, your family, your self-care. Your keywords are balance, health, and nurture. And I'm going to pause for one moment because I'm getting low battery, and I'm just going to stop and make sure I can get through the rest of this. And that's another 8 animals.